All right, everyone, what's going on? This is the much awaited, much praised, much trying my best to get it out. State of TNA 2014 video. This is not for the whole year. This is for just how I feel about how what they've been doing from the beginning to the middle of the year. I love to do this like the beginning, middle, and end of the year. I love to do that. That's probably what's gonna start happening. I just haven't been able to do it, right? I'm a little I'm a little stuffed up here. It's a little under the weather here. I'm not too terribly bad. Just my nose is kind of stopped up. Everybody knows how that goes. But pretty much Impact Wrestling, whatever you want to call it, TNA. If you just call it TNA, call it TNA. Basically, this is how I feel about. And if you give me 1 second, I'm actually gonna talk while I'm doing something else at this point. But TNA right now, they're doing really good things. I think the year I actually like TNA from the beginning of the year, right? People that have been saying that's what they were doing here. That's now what they're doing than they are what they were doing before. But truly and honestly, I am actually pretty much impressed. I am really impressed about what's going on in TNA right now. The reason being is TNA is doing some good things, right? If you look at the pay-per-views this year, they've been top notch to me personally. I think they've been really great. I think they've been um, reviews. Obviously, every pay-per-view, I think the majority of pay-per-views have spots in them that you would rather not see. Right? Yeah, have spots in them that you'd rather not even have in a pay-per-view. You don't really need it. A lot of them have most talked about spots, right? Excuse me. But honestly, like I just feel like TNA's going in a really good direction right now. For one, you got the X division is very prevalent in the show now. Samoa Joe being the current X division champion. If we talk about just the titles in general, Samoa Joe bringing even more prestige to the X division. I really actually feel like Sonata even brought some prestige to the X division because I said Sonata will not get over with anyone ever, which was exaggeration, overreaction, um, if he doesn't talk. But I really felt like as a face, he was really doing a good job. Now it's gonna be interesting to see what they're gonna do with this heel run they're trying to do with him, or is it gonna be something that just they try out and then they kind of throw it away and make him feud with James Storm, which is what we expected anyway. But they make him feud with James Storm in a way where it seems different than before. We could also actually see a Great Muta feud with Sonata, especially in Mount for Glory, considering they'll be in Japan, right? Now, if we look at all the champions right now, currently we have the Knockouts champion, Gail Kim. Can't get any better than that, right? Especially in the Knockouts division right now. If I think about the Knockouts that they have, I mean, I think my second favorite is probably Brittany. Anytime you see somebody new, that's always fun to see. So I think prestige is there with the Knockouts division, especially if they can. TNA set the bar extremely high with their knockouts when they first debuted. The knockouts and the knockout competition and stuff like that. When they first debuted that division, they set the bar really high. We had people like ODB and Roxy Lamo. Freaking, we had the women bleeding, like, legitly. And that was something we had never really, you don't see that you don't see women bleeding in wrestling. Even if you go and play, SmackDown Here Comes the Pain, an older WWE game where blood was, the first thing, you could hit a woman with a chair on that game as many times as you want to, and they won't bleed. Like, you know what I mean? It's something I honestly, since I've been living, I can't honestly say I've seen women bleed in wrestling, and I don't mean like a cut on the elbow or something like that, just from whatever. I mean actually like a chair shot to the head that busted them open. Like TNA did set the bar really high with that. Obviously Samoa Joe, like I said, Samoa Joe's pretty much he's tried and true, right? You know what you're gonna get from Samoa Joe when Samoa Joe's in the ring, especially with Low Key coming back. I hope he's back for a nice little bit because he also brings prestige and he kind of brings a little old school back to the X Division, right? The old school X Division we were used to seeing. Recently, we've been seeing just very good X Division stuff. Next, we have the World Tag Team Champions, the Wolves, right? Come on now, like one of the best tag teams in the business. Sorry, bad influence. Didn't mean to take your stick there, but I mean seriously though, the Wolves are one of the best tag teams in the business, if not the best tag team right now, like legit right now. If they're not the best tag team in any wrestling company that you can think of. Just the way they put their moves together, the fluidity in the ring and everything like that. Like it makes a lot of sense, right? The only thing about the tag team division right now is, like I said, when TNA was at its best, and I still love TNA. I'm probably gonna always love TNA if they stay in business. If they go out of business, I'm kind of if they go out of business, I'm gonna be upset. TNA's like my WCW or like my ECW. Like I just feel like they're just my pride and joy. They're the only company to ever come to my hometown, so it makes a lot of sense for me to really be in love with this company. And I love everything that they do. Do they have their flaws? Of course they do. Every company has their flaws. You know, every company has their flaws. So we know they have their flaws, but it's okay because every company has their flaws. It's how you get better from those flaws, right? When TNA was at its prime, I think, and don't get me wrong, they can still get back there. When TNA was at its best, the Knockouts division was ridiculous. The X division was ridiculous. The tag team division was ridiculous. And I guess maybe the world tag team, not the world tag team, but the world championship type of division wasn't really at its best per se, but it still was pretty good, right? So the Wolves, what can I say? They're great tag team champions. The unfortunate thing, they don't really have a lot of competitors, right? You see TNA bringing back tag teams to provide competition. I don't know what they're going to do really with that. I think when Bram gets out of this feud with Samoa Joe, hopefully him and Magnus will become more of a team and go after the tag titles. Give us something, right? We don't really have anything for the Wolves right now. We have the Hardys who aren't going to be together for long, I don't think, and the Dudleys who aren't going to be together for long, I don't think, right? They're older tag teams, so it makes a lot of sense. So they just need to figure out what they need to do, right? What they need to do with the tag team division. They either got to create some tag teams or bring in some tag teams. It really makes you miss Bad Influence because honestly, imagine a feud between Bad Influence and the Wolves. It would be pretty much ridiculous. Next, we got the World Heavyweight Championship, and we saw some things with the world title that wasn't really the best for the world title, right? The first person that comes to mind is Magnus. His title run was, typical heel stuff, but did it bring any prestige to him? Or did it bring any prestige to the World Heavyweight Championship? No, not at all. Then we had Eric Young, I think, brought a little bit more prestige because it was a TNA original. It brought a little bit more prestige to TNA in general because he's a TNA original. He's been there for a while, but I don't think it helped the world heavyweight title picture because everyone decided, hey, let's just compare him to Daniel Bryan because he has a beard, he has nipples, he has 10 fingers, he has 2 hands. Let me just compare every single figment of his body to Daniel Bryan. You know what I mean? And I think honestly they really did hurt the World Heavyweight Championship. Don't get me wrong, it's still prestigious. It's still the biggest title in the company, but the comparisons that were being drawn that I didn't agree with, I just thought Eric Young is the most over guy in the company. Why is there such a problem with Eric Young being the champion? At that point in time, and over the last few years, Eric Young has been the most over guy in the company. When he comes out to his song and does the head bob and everybody's saying EY, 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 You know what I mean? There's some people who don't get any type of chance at all, right? I mean, seriously though, like I just feel like it's just unfortunate, right? You know, this guy worked his butt off, worked to the bone, right? He worked his fingers to the bone, right? Tried his best to just claw up the ladder to get himself a world heavyweight championship spot, right? He was the man of a million thousand and 100 gimmicks, right? You know what I mean? He was like, I mean, if you think of Damien Sandow now, that's how Eric Young pretty much was. But it was like he kind of had to stick to it for a little bit and then change it, and then change it, and then change it, and change it, right? Started with Team Canada, you know, and then it went to the million gimmicks, and then it was the world champion. You know what I mean? That's probably some a little bit more there as well. I mean, it just I don't think it brought a lot of prestige to the World Heavyweight Championship picture, him being the champion. Because if you think about it, people just can't they can't stay off of TNA of comparing TNA to WWE. And that's in quotes right there. They can't stay off of that. They can't give TNA its props without saying, "Well, this looks a lot like WWE to me." The fact of the matter is, if you try to not copy WWE, it's a little bit hard because WWE has done pretty much everything the wrestling business has seen, right? And you know, WWE, ECW, and WCW. Let's be honest, okay? During those Monday Night Wars, during that war, that you know, that pretty much triple threat type of war they were having, you know, especially ECW setting a new standard in wrestling, and then WWE with the Attitude Era and beyond, right before the Reality Era. We've seen a lot from wrestling that we had never seen before, so it's kind of a little bit different now, right? It's kind of hard to see that. It's kind of hard to, you know, it's kind of hard for people. You know, people got mad at Lockdown when Abyss reached his hand through the ring and grabbed Samoa Joe to cost him the title, right? When people see the unexpected, they get a little bit upset. But isn't that what everybody wants? Everybody wants the unexpected, but when it happens, they're upset. When Undertaker lost at WrestleMania, the entire world, pretty much, unless you were a Brock Lesnar fan, was upset, right? You were upset because a part timer beat, you know, the Undertaker. He beat the biggest streak in wrestling history. It was unexpected, but we were upset about it. But what did we want to see from professional wrestling? Unexpected things, right? That's no, no. Don't get me wrong. You know, I completely agree. I was upset when Brock Lesnar beat the Undertaker. I really was. I was probably more shocked than upset. You know, because I was like, I just can't believe that just happened. Like, was that really three? You know what I mean? But back to TNA though, you know, when we see something that we don't expect, like people got mad because that was something WWE did forever ago, right? And they're like, here we go, TNA copying WWE again. I'm like, how was that TNA copying WWE when WWE did it so long ago that you know, if you just remember it because it was something special. You don't necessarily remember it because of anything in particular, right? But I seriously think, back to the world title picture, that Bobby Lashley has really solidified this title, right? He's had a much better run than we ever expected. And you know, he's been dominant. He's been dominant without necessarily burying people as well, right? Bobby Lashley has been one of those champions that capitalizes on your mistakes, right? If you think back to Eric Young, you know, Eric Young was taking his big chances with the elbow, right? He was taking the chance. He went for the elbow, missed it. Bobby Lashley hits him with a spear. You think about Aries. Aries goes for the suicide dive. He misses it. He comes back in the ring. Bobby Lashley hits him with a power slam and then a spear, right? Jeff Hardy, he goes for the Swanton Bomb on the step. He goes for the Swanton Bomb, misses Bobby Lashley, hits the steps. Bobby Lashley hits him with a spear. It's done. You know what I mean? Like, he capitalizes on your mistakes. That's just how Bobby Lashley operates. But you got to think about it. When Bobby Lashley became the champion, I was like, I don't know how they're going to do this. For one, Bobby Lashley does not talk. He doesn't really need to, but he doesn't talk. For two, you know, is Bobby Lashley as good of a worker in the ring as it seems like he is? And I think he's done pretty good. I mean, some people would disagree and say, "Well, Bobby Lashley sucks." Like, like Bobby Lashley's been pretty good as the champion. I think his championship run is the most credible out of the three I mentioned. Out of Magnus, because we haven't had a true credible run. I don't think since I think Bully Ray's was decent, but since Bobby Roode was the most credible run. Then I think you got to put this one as a close second, because Eric Young's run was like a finally type of run. Like finally he won the championship. Finally, it took him so long, which sounds a lot like the Daniel Bryan story. But then again, you got to think about it. Daniel Bryan wasn't in WWE for 12 years before he won the title. It's just been over this past year, right? And another thing, there will be a part two to this video. Um, I I'm hoping I can get a part two to this video. I'm trying to find some people who I can debate with as well. Plus, get over this sickness so you don't have to listen to my sick voice forever. You know. But honestly, though, I honestly feel like if I can get some people to debate with about this stuff, maybe agree when it needs to be agreed upon, and debate when it needs to be debated on. Right? You know what I mean? People often get mad about, and we may go over some of these same points, but it'll be in a debate type of feel to it too, where we'll have multiple people debating on it. That's the main plan, man. But guys, if you look at it, people. I've heard people say, TNA has all these washed up people. TNA, they're just a bunch of WWE has-beens. Not necessarily, right? Not necessarily. I don't think Bully Ray. I wouldn't say Bully Ray's a has-been because Bully Ray just hit the pinnacle of his singles career when he won the title not too long ago, when he was going with the whole Cavzilla gimmick and the "Do you know who I am" gimmick, right? You know what I mean? He still does that, but not as much, right? He just basically hit the pinnacle of his, you know, singles career right there. One guy you didn't really expect to be a great singles competitor was Bully Ray, right? And I think people a lot of times get mad at TNA for doing for taking, quote unquote taking WWE stars or, using WWE's former WWE talent. This is how I feel about it. I feel like TNA takes the talent WWE didn't want or the talent WWE didn't use well and uses it to their advantage, right? If you think about Rick Lon and Snitsky just recently, people know about Ezekiel Jackson and people know about Snitsky, but I mean, are they like the biggest stars ever? No, right? I think the biggest star that TNA's brought in that had good success in WWE was Kurt Angle. That's about it. Let's be freaking honest, dude. That's about it. The only real big star that TNA's brought in has been freaking, Kurt Angle. He's been the biggest star pretty much. Look at Bobby Lashley. He was the ECW champion. But then again, if we look at the joke that WWE tried to put off as ECW the second time, was he really the biggest thing in the company? How many people were really watching this new breed of ECW? I don't think it was as many as probably who watched Raw or SmackDown at that point, especially Raw. Let's look at another former WWE talent. Obviously Bully Ray and Devon, they made their name not necessarily in WWE, but more in ECW, right? My question is, why are you mad at TNA when these guys make their choice to say, I want to go to TNA. I still want to be part of a company that's on TV where I can get myself out there, to the fans and do what I love to do. So why are people so mad at TNA when Bully Ray and Devon decided, let's go to TNA? When Bobby Lashley decided, let's go to TNA. When Kurt Angle decided, I'm going to go to TNA. When Hulk Hogan decides, I'm going to go to they can reach out to him, don't get me wrong, but it's still mutual. They still have to say, hey, I actually want to go here. It's like, I can use this in a football reference. If you, if you are, I don't know, let's say if you're Calvin Johnson and the Lions, they just don't win this year. They're just terrible this year. They're not really winning like you want them to win, right? You look at that and you say, do I really want to be on this team? So, and we're using that as like the WWE. So you see another team that's gonna, you're gonna reap more benefits by being on this team. You take less money to be on a team that's gonna, still put you in a good position, right? So Calvin Johnson decides to go to, I don't know, the Broncos, right? How ridiculous would that be? But Calvin Johnson decides to go to the Broncos. Okay, Calvin Johnson decides to go to the Broncos. Do you think it was all Calvin Johnson's decision, or it was all more or less it was all the Broncos' decision to bring in Calvin Johnson? It was mutual. Calvin Johnson wanted to go there, and also the Broncos wanted him to be there. So let's go back and let's talk a little bit more. A guy who used to be there a little while ago was Chavo Guerrero. Now, Chavo Guerrero, obviously being in WCW before WWE and before TNA, but Chavo Guerrero really didn't get to make a name for himself in WWE. Let's be honest. Chavo Guerrero was under the shadow of Eddie Guerrero because Eddie Guerrero was the big star. Chavo Guerrero was just the other Guerrero to me. Personally, that's how I have always felt about Chavo Guerrero. I felt like he was just the other Guerrero. Don't get me wrong. I think he's talented, but I've never really felt like he's been. Is he a must see for me? No, I wouldn't say Chavo Guerrero is a must see by any means. Um, there's a guy I have in particular that I want to point out, but I'm gonna wait on him. Jeff Hardy, obviously he made his name in WWE, but when he got a lot of times it's about a second chance, right? Sometimes you get yourself in trouble with things you like to do outside of the ring, outside of the company, and you need to. TNA gave him a chance. It's like Michael Vick. The Eagles gave him a chance. Whether you succeed is on you, right? Whether you succeed during your second chance is on you, and that's just how it is. Let's see who else I can think of. Obviously, Matt Hardy. I think that's about it right now at this point. MVP, obviously, but I mean, MVP was a mid Carter type of guy. He was MVP was more of he was in that feud with Matt Hardy for a while, and like I said, I heard an interview with MVP. You gotta think about it, dude. I heard an interview with MVP. He said, it was his choice to go to TNA, right? They may have reached out to him, but it was still his choice to say, well, I want to build this brand even more than it already is. I maybe can't draw in, millions and millions and millions more fans, but I can come to this company and do something good for this company. Think about Hulk Hogan, right? Hulk Hogan came in to draw other people in, right? TNA said, hey, this is a good thing because this will draw other people in. Hulk Hogan had his mind in the right place saying, hey, I can draw other people in. We can do what's best for this company. And obviously Taz, but, Taz has been there for a while, and Taz doesn't wrestle. He's just basically the commentator, so, you know. Also, if we think about people like Brian Kendrick, Doc, who was Luke Gallows, I'm pretty sure. Um, Nux, obviously. I mean, you had the guys like Ric Flair and RVD and Scott Hall and Scott Steiner. All of those people, Tom Cole, even Christian for a little while. I mean, but you just got to think about it, dude. Like when someone leaves one company, it's mutual, right? I mean, and I'm not saying I don't mind you having your point. I don't mind you saying, well, they're just a bunch of has-beens. I'm just saying what makes them, just because they were in WWE doesn't mean they were has-beens for one, and just because they're now in TNA doesn't make them any less of a superstar than they were before, right? AJ Styles was in. I think he may have tried out for WWE, maybe got like one match in WWE, but AJ Styles was only AJ Styles because of TNA, right? would AJ Styles have been the same person in WWE? Who knows, right? I've heard people say Bobby Roode wouldn't be the same guy if he was in WWE, or if he would have started out in WWE, or if he would have been in WWE, right? Now the guy I'm been waiting to get to is EC3, right? EC3's become a really, I think, pretty much a pretty big star, right? Truly and honestly, I think EC3 has become a nice star in TNA. He really has. He's doing a lot better with promos, doing good work in the ring. I'm a big time EC3 fan. You can't wrestle. I'm pretty good. Every time I hear I'm pretty good, it's like in his voice as many times as he does that little stick with the fans. I love that stick though. It's really fun. Or is it stick or is it shtick? I don't know. Anyway, EC3 is also one of those guys. He came from WWE, but nobody's gonna say anything about him, right? Because he wasn't, a big time star. He was in NXT actually. If you look up Derek Bateman, if you don't know who he is, he was Derek Bateman in WWE. I actually looked up some of his older matches and stuff like that. Because I remember, I looked up EC3 and I was like, I don't know, this guy looks familiar. Then I saw the name Derek Bateman. I was like, Derek Bateman, that sounds so familiar. It's not even funny. So I started looking up some of his matches. But, I really love EC3. And EC3 is one of those guys, again, that TNA took advantage of what WWE didn't want. Is it bad? Like, that's like in the NFL and the NBA, if I release a player who has talent but just doesn't fit my system, is it bad for another team to pick him up? Or let's say the NFL doesn't really like this particular player, and not necessarily the NFL, but certain teams don't like this particular player because of the way he plays the game, right? So he gets picked up by the CFL. Is that a bad thing? You know, is that a bad thing for him? Or I think, and obviously it's mutual. The CFL team is interested in him, and he's probably interested in still doing what he loves to do. And guys, when I get over this sickness, I may do a couple more parts of this because I really love talking about this. You may even see me do some state of WWE videos because I don't want to sound like I'm biased, like I'm just a TNA mark. I'm not a mark in any means, any state of the word, any faction of the word, any form or fashion, whatever, how we're gonna say it, right? I just love wrestling, right? I just love, like, I would freaking love to watch ROH even more. I think it comes on Fridays. I think they have it on the websites on their website. So I'm gonna try my best to start watching more ROH because I got to watch. I think it was Final Battle and I loved it. Right. So I'm gonna try my best to do some more stuff like this. Like I know you guys love reviews, right? Honestly, to be true and honest. I know you guys, I know reviews is one of the things that people like to hear, that people like to hear about the show they watch. They like to see, like, what's the, what do you like the best? What do I like as opposed to what you like? People like to hear other people's opinions. And this is my thing about that. Like, I'm fine with doing reviews. I love doing reviews. I love to do more reviews on WWE content. The reason I'm not doing them is for some reason, WWE stuff never goes well with my schedule, right? I try to watch Raw and I have to work early the next morning when I really want to review it, right? Or like, the pay-per-view. Like, I wanted to review SummerSlam because I really enjoyed it. And, bam, I have to work early the next day. Actually, what happened was I didn't even get to watch it that night. I had to watch it late. I didn't get to watch it until Monday, right before Raw. So, like, it's just, I don't know, man. I really try my best to do reviews as much as possible, but I also want to do some other stuff, right? I want to do some stuff in sports. I want to do some stuff in other things, right? Excuse me. Once I get over this sickness, though, I promise you, there's going to be some more videos. There's going to be some more videos, guys. I promise that. I'm trying to get over this sickness. I know I sound stuffed up. I probably sound like I'm in a box trying to talk to you right now, but I'm not in a box. I'm just really stuffed up right now, trying to get over this. It's like I don't know what it is. It's probably like one of those like 3 day colds or something. I don't know what it is. I'm not like coughing, but I'm stuffed up. But anyway, enough about personal problems. More about the wrestling, guys. There's gonna be more on this. I promise. And there's gonna be more debates about this too, because as long as I can find some people to do it, right? Uh, for some reason, I have the problem of finding people to do stuff, and then they disappear on me forever. So I'm gonna try to find some good people to do some stuff with, right? That's the main plan. I actually have a friend that, he's kind of like one of the casual wrestling fans that just kind of he doesn't get to watch it all the time, but he gets to watch it at times. So it'd be interesting if I could maybe get him on and see his viewpoints on some of this stuff I'm talking about, and stuff like that. He really exclusively watches TNA. He doesn't really watch WWE that much. I don't think he watches it at all, really. I was just watching TNA one day, and he came in the room and he started watching it, and then we just started watching it every week, pretty much from then. I was already watching it, but he started watching it. So I mean, I may have to get him on here at least to have somebody. You guys, as much as you love my voice, you know what I mean. No, but seriously though, as much as you love my voice, even the stuffed up voice that you're getting now, I'm sure you guys want to hear more than just my voice. That's just how it is. It's always interesting to hear from other points of view. That's why I always want to hear from you guys, because I want to hear like what are you thinking about? Like, how do you feel about TNA Impact? Moving and stuff like that. How do you truly feel about that? How do you feel about moving to Wednesdays? How do you feel about the product in general? How do you feel about their length of promos? How do you feel about their promo skills? How do you feel about you know even bringing in different superstars for certain periods of time? How do you feel about them bringing in MMA people? Like, there's gonna be different stuff, right? And I hope to get on that in the next part of this. This ran a little bit longer than I expected, but I think this was also an important video. I've been wanting to do this forever. Like, not forever, but at least since I've started doing the videos, right? I've been wanting to do this for a while. To my subscribers, I really, really love you guys. I'm really appreciative of the views I get from you guys. Thank you so much for my last video. My last review I did was the TNA Impact review for when Dixie went through the table. Hashtag it happens, I think I called it. And I got over 1,000 views, which has never happened since I've started doing YouTube. And that was just in pretty much a week and like a couple of days. So, guys, I really appreciate it. I can't thank you guys enough. If you want to subscribe, hit that button. It's below. It's below the video. So if you want to subscribe, hit the button. I promise you, there's gonna be more content. So if you want to see more, then hit the button. Go check out my channel. There's even more than just the wrestling stuff on my channel. There's some older videos that I used to do with my storytime videos that I love to get back into, because people ask me about them all the time around here. So I love to get into those again too. Guys, I just hope you guys enjoy. Give it a thumbs up if you like. Give it a thumbs down if you don't. If you like it or if you don't like it, let me know why. Right? You don't have to comment every time, but I'm just saying, like, especially if you don't like it, because all I want to do is continue to improve. So if you don't like it because I'm sick, be like, get your sick face out of the microphone, or I don't know. Just let me know. Like, if you don't like it because you don't like TNA, then tell me you don't like TNA, and we can discuss this. I can bring you on, and we can talk about. You would be the perfect, negative to my positive, or be the perfect positive to my negative, whatever. You'd be the perfect, you'd be the perfect polar end to what I'm saying. But guys, I'm gonna talk to you guys later. Hope you guys enjoyed. Check me out tonight for an Impact Wrestling review. Tonight being August 20th, Wednesday, when TNA is on Wednesdays, guys. I'll see you guys later. Peace.